Hello everyone, Jai Shri Krishna. This is Vishal Saxena from India. I am going to upload this first video out of the series of the videos I am going to make on the great story of Mahabharata. First of all, why I want to do this? Reasons are manifold. First reason is that I love storytelling myself, and I have told these stories to my friends and colleagues. So I am going to do what I love to do. Second is that this is the greatest and longest epic poem ever written in the world, Mahabharata, and this fact itself says that this story should be heard and understood by everyone in the world, and online videos these days are easiest and most efficient way to communicate to any corner of the world. Third is the most important reason. Whenever I told these stories to my friends and colleagues, the response which I got was 90% of time that these stories are not relevant to our day-to-day life now in 21st century. So my endeavor will be not only to tell you the stories of Mahabharata, but also to tell you the relevancy factor out of each and every story, how these stories are relevant in our daily life today. So, first story of Mahabharata. Mahabharata began, to understand where did Mahabharata begin, we need to understand the meaning of word Mahabharata. Mahabharata means the great tale of Bharat dynasty, the great story of dynasty of King Bharat. So we know now that the story started with King Bharat. King Bharat was the first king to win over the lands and breadths of India. He was the first king to win over all the parts of India, and that's why the land which was earlier known as Aryavrat was renamed as Bharatvarsh on his name. Then he returned after winning through the lands and breadths of India. He returned to his capital Hastinapur. King Bharat was son of King Dushyant and Shakuntala. King Dushyant was one of the descendants of Lord Shri Ram, and Shakuntala was daughter of great sage Vishwamitra and Menka. Though she was daughter of sage Vishwamitra, but she was taken care of by sage Karna in her childhood. So when King Bharat returned to his capital Hastinapur, his people welcomed him, and his head of minister urged him to declare the name of the next prince, so that people should know who is going to serve them as king after Bharat retires. So to seek guidance on this point, King Bharat approached great sage Karna, to whom he actually treated him as a spiritual guru, and he went to meet great sage Karna and told him the dilemma he is in. Actually, he had 9 sons, and he was under dilemma that whom he should make the king. Then sage Karna replied that if you have come across to me for this question, that means the great warrior who has won the lands of India could not win over himself. So your first duty is to win over yourself. Then only you will automatically find out the answer of your question. So with this guidance, King Bharat returned to his kingdom and announced in his court that there are 3 primary duties of every king. First duty is to take care, serve and provide justice to his people. Second is to protect them against any outside aggression. Third is to provide a future king who can do both these things, who can serve them, protect them and provide justice to them. And then he said that unfortunately I didn't find these virtues in my sons. in any of my 9 sons. So hereby I adopt one of my common men of my kingdom, Bharadwaj Bhumanyu, and make him sons, because I find him virtuous enough to be prince. So this was the first seed of democracy which was sown on the lands of India, which is currently now the biggest democracy of the world. It was also the principle which was laid down by King Bharat, that a king has to be good to his people first of all. His primary duty is to be good and to be kind, to be serving his people rather than anything else. So this way he founded this principle, and he expected that the kings to come in future will follow this principle and will never breach it. This decision of King Bharat faced many opposition from her mother herself. The mother Shakuntala, who said that you are the only father in the history of mankind who took over the right of his own sons and gave it to some other person. For this, Bharat replied that for a king, every single citizen of his kingdom is his son or daughter. So if I have made one of my people as one of my common men as my next prince, that means I have made my son as king, as prince. So now the relevancy. This was the first story of Mahabharata. This was the story which laid down the foundation of the Mahabharata, which laid down the principle which future kings should have followed, but they didn't follow. That's why the great war of Mahabharata happened. So the relevancy factor now of this story is, look at our political scenario, where a son or daughter of a politician automatically takes over the inheritance right. Nobody ever questions his or her eligibility or ability. The fact that he or she is son or daughter of a politician or a minister makes that person automatically eligible for that job. Now again, it is very easy to point out fingers at others. Look at ourselves. Say after some 30-35 years, I am 65-year-old, and I find my son or my daughter not good enough. They are not virtuous enough. They are not good enough to serve me. Would I have guts to make a trust out of my property or money to serve, which can serve, that trust can serve the poor and underprivileged people? Would I have that guts to disown my children? So if now we understand this philosophy, then we can understand what great sacrifice King Bharat has given. So this was the first story of Mahabharata, and if you have liked it, please send your responses, comments, suggestions to my email address clubmahabharat@gmail.com, clubmahabharat@gmail.com, and send your responses so that I can make better videos in future. Thank you.